Hey over sports, Jacob over here. Welcome to my first ever episode of BuckTalk. And this is just a web series where I'll be giving my thoughts and opinions on the Bucks as they progress throughout their season. Um, and this episode is gonna be about a question that a lot of people have probably had over the summer, and that question is, can Giannis Antetokounmpo really win the NBA MVP this season? It's a long shot, but can he really do it? Now, before I get into all that, I'm going to take a look at last year's stat line for Giannis. And his stat line last year was 22.9 points per game, 8.8 rebounds per game, 5.4 assists per game, 1.9 blocks per game, and 1.6 steals per game. He led his team in every major statistical category, which is unheard of, and he did all of that at age 22. And when you really compare the numbers, Giannis' season last year was among one of the top 10 to 15 ever by a forward. He's only 22 years old, like I said. I mean, imagine if he increases his points per game to 25 next year, his rebounds to 10, his assists to 6, his blocks and steals over 2. That's a stat line of 25, 10, 6, 2, and 2. I mean, regardless of your team's success, that instantly makes you an MVP candidate, like a leading MVP candidate. And that's just crazy how he's able to put up stats like that at such a young age. And moving on from that, I don't really like to bring stuff like this kind of stuff like this up, and I'm certainly not happy this event happened. It was tragic, but Giannis's father had a very big influence on his life, from what I've heard, and he passed away about a week or two ago. And really knowing the kind of player and the kind of person that Giannis is, that's just gonna fuel his fire. It's gonna fuel his desire to play to his very best. I mean, he's just the kind of guy who, when he's faced with a setback like that, he'll go stronger. He'll go harder. He'll be out there to prove everybody wrong. And he's gonna play. He's gonna be playing really hard this year. He's gonna be playing with a heavy heart. I mean, he's just gonna play at a new intensity this year. I really feel like he is, and that's really gonna fuel his MVP candidate status. So, a downside to all this, however, is that Giannis is he may be incredibly talented, but he's also one of many incredibly talented players in the NBA today, and I really don't think the NBA has ever been this saturated with superstars before. You've got guys like LeBron James, Steph Curry, Russell Westbrook, Kevin Durant, James Harden, Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, Chris Paul, the list goes on. And I mean, there's just a lot of competition there. And for a guy who's only 22, going to be 23 years old this season, I mean, to pick him over these established guys, these established veterans who have been doing it for a while, who have the experience, that's where I doubt here that Giannis can win the MVP. Can he really win the MVP with all of these guys competing with him? LeBron is the best player on the planet. Curry is the best shooter on the planet. Westbrook averaged a triple-double last year. Kevin Durant just won NBA Finals MVP. James Harden is incredibly talented with passing, with shooting. Kawhi Leonard is one of the most efficient players in the NBA. I mean, it's crazy. I don't think the NBA has ever been this saturated with these amount of superstars before. It's just insane. But a possible upside to that, however, with all these superstars, is there's the emergence of these like super teams. And Giannis is really one of the only real superstars that isn't surrounded by stars himself, or at least one star. Now, LeBron had Irving last year, and he's going to have Isaiah Thomas this year. Now, obviously, LeBron's team would be good either way, but that's not the point here. The point is that LeBron has this talent level on his team that helps him out, and he's a very talented player, but he still has a lot of talent around him. Guys like Westbrook, who won MVP last year, he's got Carmelo and Paul George on his team now. James Harden has Trevor Ariza and Chris Paul. The Warriors have that super team of Draymond and KD and Steph and Clay and all those guys. Anthony Davis has DeMarcus Cousins now. Kawhi Leonard is really the only guy of all these people who I can think of besides Giannis who doesn't have like really any true superstars on his team. But he's got an incredible coach, and I mean, guys like LaMarcus Aldridge and Tony Parker, they may not be like huge superstars, but I mean, they're really good players. They're like just below that level. Now, Giannis has Chris Middleton, and this isn't a knock on Chris Middleton at all. But Chris Middleton isn't a star yet, and there's certainly the potentially could be, but outside of Chris Middleton, Giannis doesn't have anybody on this team. Tony Snell is a role player. Thon Maker's still developing. Matthew Dellavedova sucks. I'm going to say it. Matthew Dellavedova sucks. Malcolm Brogdon, he won Rookie of the Year, yeah, but he's no more than just a slightly above average point guard. I mean, there's just not a lot to work with here. He's going to be getting Jabari Parker back in January to February. But is Parker really even a star yet? I'd put him in the same category as like LaMarcus Aldridge, like I said earlier. Both Parker and Middleton really still have to prove themselves, in my opinion. And I mean, this could definitely affect the committee's decision when they're deciding on an MVP. When you've got players like Westbrook who have players like Carmelo and Paul George on their team, when you've got James Harden who has Trevor Ariza and who has Chris Paul. I mean, these are all really good players surrounding this team, and the Bucks are just, without Giannis, the Bucks are about a 20-win team, 25 at best. Over that is really pushing it. So taking into the consideration the points I made, I mean, when you think about it, the committee, they might favor a guy like Giannis over superstar-studded teams because Giannis is doing this all by himself. If Giannis gets the Bucks to 50 wins this year, there's no doubt in my mind that he's one of the leading MVP candidates. I mean, this Bucks team is really just a group of misfits and role players. It's really all it is. And, I mean, without Giannis, like I said, they only win 25 games at best, really, I think. He carries this team, and I think that that's going to influence the committee's decision if it comes down to something like that. So that improves his chances as well. Now, taking into consideration all the points I've made now about Giannis' father being extra motivation, the superstar teams might give Giannis a boost with the committee, how Giannis could average that 25, 10, 6, 2, 2 stat line. I'll address the question now. Can Giannis really, realistically win the MVP next season, or this season? Looking about what I've said, it's entirely plausible that he puts up a 25, 10, 6, 2, 2 stat line. And that stat line alone is enough to put you instantly in MVP conversation. And it's not crazy to think that he can improve his points by 2. He can improve his rebounding by 1.2. He can improve his assists by 0.6. He can improve his blocks by 0.1, and he can improve his steals by 0.4. I mean, that is not crazy to think that he could do that. And remember, if he gets better at the 3-point shooting, at free throw shooting, if he stays out of foul trouble, those numbers could be even better. And with all that being considered, I'm going to say that yes, Giannis can be MVP next season. Realistically, he can be MVP this season. Now, the only thing that worries me about this, the only doubt in my mind about all of this, is that Giannis is only 22 years old and he's going to be 23. And like I said earlier, with all these superstars, they may have the super teams and all that, but these superstars have been doing it for a long time. Giannis has been doing this for 1, maybe 2 years. He's only been a real superstar for a couple years. And to think that a guy could, at 23 years old, overcome LeBron and Westbrook in competition like that to win the MVP, that's the only doubt I have in my mind. I do think he can win the MVP realistically this year. Absolutely he can, considering all the points I made. But the only thing that worries me is that he's only 23. I mean, this is a pressure-packed year for him. He's going to have to build off of the success he had last year, and it's really hard to top a season like he had last year. Now, that doesn't mean that he isn't going to. I really think it's obvious that he is going to do better than last season, but to top a season like that is really hard to do, and it's a lot of pressure on him. And remember, his father just died. He's got a lot going on in his life. He's only 23 years old. I mean, those are the only things that would make me doubt that he couldn't win the MVP this year, but all in all, I really think he could, and it's going to be just so fun to watch him play this season. I think everyone can agree with me on that. So, anyways, guys, that's really all I have to say in this video. This video was a lot of fun to make, I have to say. And stay tuned for the Buck Talk episodes. I'll be making them hopefully weekly, maybe every Monday or Tuesday once the season starts get going. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it. Leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you later.